welcome to another edition of Straight Grown Talk. I am your host, Laquel Farley. Today, we have a special guest in the building. Her name is Miss Dana Hammond. But before I get to that, I do want to go and take care of some firsthand business. Remember, everyone, that we are still in coronavirus season, so I need everyone to please wear their mask and wash their hands, stay 6 feet back, and make sure that you are staying away from everyone because we really do want this pandemic to leave, as we need to be more and more cautious of things that are happening around us in everyday society. Have you noticed that a lot of business is going to mandatory mask wearing? But again, this is about safety. I understand people hate wearing the mask. I do too. But as you can see, it's for the health of our own self and others that we put at risk when we're talking or any other things that we're doing while we're out and about. So remember, please, please, please protect yourself, wash your hands, wear your face mask, stand 6 feet back, have some patience, show a little of care. Also remember, go visit your family members. A lot of mental people are going through situations that need just a word of encouragement. Pick up the phone. You don't necessarily have to go see them, but pick up the phone. Do something to uplift. Everyone needs a helping hand at this point. We're seeing more and more people go through heartaches and mental breakdowns and wanting to commit suicide. But again, show just a little bit of time and affection and attention to that person. You never know who life you are saving. So today we're going to talk about a very important issue to me. And before, I have done human trafficking, sex trafficking, kids. I've talked about all those wonderful things. Well, again, today we're going to talk about it. But this time I did a twist. I actually got a victim to come on, and she's going to share her story and how that she went through the process and how she's mentally be able to handle it and overcome it. I am about to introduce you someone that is very, very, very familiar about human trafficking in the U.S. as well as in other countries as well. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as I introduce you to Miss Dana Hammond. Welcome, 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 Ms. Hammond, to the show of Straight Grown Talk. Please let our audience introduce yourself and let them know who you are.
Thank you so much. My name is Dana Priyanka Hammond, and I am an author of Abandoned But Not Forgotten. I wrote my story because of the fact that of the human trafficking and everything else above the storm that I rose above from.
Okay. So tell us a little bit more about you.
So I was born and raised in India, but first memories of India was being human trafficked and taken away from my family, not knowing where I was being taken away to. And I just remember being very scared and frightened and just not knowing exactly where my life was going to turn to. But thankfully that I was rescued, and then I arrived to America just to experience abuse.
Okay, so let me back up a moment. You said this happened when you were in your home country, correct?
Yes.
And about what age was this?
I was 4 years old.
Oh wow. And when they came and got you, what was your sense of thought at that particular time, being that young?
I couldn't really have much of a sense of thought because I was just a kid. I just wanted to enjoy my life, enjoy my growing up, and that's not exactly what my experience was. Because of me finding myself in a burlap rice sack, God knows where I was going, in this bad man's hands.
Oh wow. So explain to the audience, what was your day-to-day experience when this first happened to you? Like, how did they do it? It was something they just came in and just took you away? What was and how did your parents feel at that time? Do you know that their emotions as well?
I could imagine their emotions were pretty freaked out. That's what I could imagine. I'm not quite sure. I won't know you know, what everything that they experience until I go into finding my birth family. But otherwise, I can tell you what I have experienced and how frightened I was. And basically, just as a child, not knowing what to do, especially because I was constantly sleepy and I couldn't escape. I was too afraid to even move, of not knowing what that man could do to me. So I made sure I sat still.
Wow, wow. Okay, so you were abducted and then you stayed where? Do you remember?
I was traveling in the burlap sack. So I've been there for at least a day or two in the burlap sack. Until we reached to the train station and got on the train.
Okay. Did they fix you up any kind of way? Because what I'm hoping to do is I want some young lady to hear your story, and understand what you went through. But I also want to prevent other people from also going through this. I want them to be aware of what they do. So when you went in that train station in those 2 days, did they dress you a certain kind of way? Did they tell you not to say anything? What did they do?
No, no. I actually, when I found myself in the rice sack, I was extremely sleepy. So I know chloroform was placed over my mouth
Okay.
uh, to make me feel tired. So they had a plan, and their plan when they abducted me was to put chloroform over my mouth, and then just I was traveling down the road with them. They were walking on foot until reaching to the train station.
Okay. And then you reached the train station. What was the next thing that happened?
Wherever we were reaching to, I ended up, I don't know how long I was in that train, um, but we reached to the last destination, and I know it was like pretty much overnight train ride, and I don't know how far I rode, but I made it to Pune, India, and that was my last destination that I arrived to.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay. So once you arrive, what happened then?
Once I arrived, police actually at the train station found me and brought me to an orphanage because I just know that what I don't know what took place that frightened the man, but he was no longer with me, and whatever the purpose and the reason was, I was no longer with the bad man, and I was brought to the orphanage.
Okay. And then from the orphanage, you were raised, you went to school, you became a young lady. And what other tragic event happened from there?
Um, well, because of that first tragic event, I went through another tragic event after the orphanage. I believe I was adoption trafficked, though. My thing is, but I won't fully understand or not understand. I won't fully know until I get to the bottom of it. So when I go on the journey of finding my birth family and find out a little bit more about my background history, I will find out a little bit more if the orphanage was in on it or not. Um, and I got adopted out to America, and then I went through abuse with my first adopted
Oh,
parents.
wow. And can
Yes.
you express what happened during that time frame?
Oh, they neglected to feed me, medically take care of my needs, as well as just personal needs, as hygienic needs, and just school or anything else. I pretty much had to take care of myself.
Okay, okay. And then what else horribly did they do?
Physically, mentally, and verbally and emotionally abuse me, drag me on the carpet, beat me, would not feed me, and then just I was pretty much locked up in my room.
Okay, so you mentioned a little bit earlier you think you was adopted traffic. Tell us what that means because that means you went somewhere else too. So tell us what that means for you.
Yeah, what that means is that uh, when, and I'm not saying all orphanages are in on it, but majority of them usually are. When orphanages, they look for somebody out in the street to go snatch kids from the street or from their family when they're not looking or anywhere else, and then they bring them to the orphanages and they claim them as abandoned children or children who were rejected or where their family just did not want them.
Okay.
And then sometimes the children, they their family, they don't know how to speak English, and sometimes they promise them good education for their kids compared to what their family experienced and have not experienced. And then because some families, they don't know how to read and write, they get tricked into being promised that their children will be sent to a good school and then their children will come back. But because they cannot read and write, they sign their children over to give their child up for adoption without unwillingly knowing that they just gave their child up and they will never see them again.
Now, did that happen to you?
I believe somewhere in the line that that one of whoever the bad man was, because these workers get hired from the street to go searching for children. I believe that when one of the workers that found me, they snatched me from my family, and that's how I got brought to the orphanage. So that's what I'm talking about, that I believe that I was adoption trafficked, because I believe that was my story.
So, how long were you in this orphanage?
I was in the orphanage from the age of 4 until I was 8 years old. I was in 2 different orphanages.
Okay. And in the second orphanage, did they also do the same thing that the first orphanage do?
They're orphanages are orphanages. They're all the same. So it doesn't matter, because if they do the same or not, it's the same status of it. They're looking to getting rid of the kids, and for a child, for adoption trafficking, they get anywhere from $10,000 to $35,000 to be adopted out.
And the orphanage?
The orphanage.
Oh, wow. Repeat those figures again, please.
Anywhere from $10,000 to $35,000.
Wow.
Per child.
Wow. That's deep.
Why adoption is very, very expensive.
Yes.
And people don't realize that, some of the things that don't add up in the child's documents, why is it not lining up? Why is it not making any sense? Because they have gotten rid of some of the things. Some of the things don't make sense. They haven't completely told the full truth.
So from the moment that you stayed in the second orphanage, what happened after that point? I know you said you was adopted out into a family. Did you stay with that family until you reached the age of 18? What happened?
No. I stayed with that family till I was almost 12. I was 11 years old, but I got myself out of the situation because of the abuse.
Okay.
And I dealt with some serious PTSD because of their failure to really take care of me as a child, and the abuse that I endured from the age of 8 till 11 years old.
Okay. And when you left that family, where did you go?
I went through shelters and foster homes. So I was pretty much tossed home to home and not stayed in place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then from when you turned, age 13, what did you do from that point?
I was in foster home I was in foster home, and at the age of 16, they gave me an option to either be adopted out again or to stay in foster home until I was 18, or to go live out on my own until I was 21 years old, and where they would take care of me. And that was too scary for me. I wasn't ready. And then I chose, of course, to be adopted again because I wanted a family really bad and to be loved. And that's something that I never experienced growing up as a child, was to be loved.
Okay. Now this makes the second time that you have been adopted. What was different with the first family? The second family. Did the second family really show you the love and attention that you rightfully wanted and deserved?
To be quite honest, they weren't ready to deal with the traumatized teenager, and a teenager who was dealing with a lot because just being tossed home from home. Even under the custody of the state, they never really put me through
some type of therapy.
Therapy that I needed, and the healing, to help me to go through the healing process. I never experienced that, so they weren't ready for what they were getting ready to experience with me. And they thought, and plus on top of that, they themselves were not experienced parents because they didn't have children of their own. They just instantly took a teenager in.
Wow, that already had issues and stuff like that. So, were there anything positive that came from the second family that you kind of take in consideration now? Considering, and did, when you came with that second family, I know that were there some type of trust that you built with them, that you kind of told them your history and your journey of what you had been through?
They knew the history and the journey that I have been through, but the thing is, the relationship between me and them did not last that long. It was about year and a half, 2 years, how long I was in the relationship with them, and then they completely got rid of me. So it felt like another level of rejection all over again.
Wow. And then from that, you became what? You were 17, 18 at that point?
I was, I was, yes, I was 17, 18 years old. And I was 17 years old, pretty much 17, 18, yeah, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And of course, because of the level that they were dealing with, they of course placed me in a mental institute, and then from there I went to a group home, and that was my home until I graduated from high school, and then I moved out on my own.
Well, I commend you for graduating on like you were supposed to, and I know that was a lot for you to endure from 4 until 18. That was a lot. So I want to back up before we continue on because there was some other stuff that happened after that. But I want to back up and address at this point, what was your mind thinking at 18 years old, looking at from 4 into then what you had experienced? What were you feeling and thinking at that point?
I'm gonna die. I did not have a secure life to a point that I felt like I was going to die at an early age. And I really felt like I had no hope for my life, no future, no nothing. I didn't have a goal. I didn't have a dream. I didn't have a purpose. I didn't have anything to live for, or anything to even look forward for, especially with me not knowing anything. The family that I was supposed to have, that were supposed to raise me, They didn't raise me, so I was left clueless. And then growing up in shelters and foster homes, they don't teach you anything. So leaving you clueless there, um, yeah, it was a very unstable life, a roller coaster ride. Um, and then I think the majority of the things that I got, even the little bit of survival that I did receive, was from the group home, which is, well, how to write a resume, how to grocery shop, simple as that a teenager would need, how to
So basic life
balance a,
skills.
yeah, basic
Hmm.
life skills. That's the most I've ever gotten from a group home. And I didn't even get that from um, my
Your
first
adoptive parents.
adopted parents, second adopted parents, and not even the foster home. They could care less. It was all about the money.
Oh, wow, wow. But again, just like you just said, it's a very broad industry, but it's definitely about the money. And a lot of people look at it that way as the extra income, a way to live and survive. And all they have to do is prepare, a place for you to stay. They're not interested in your emotional roller coaster. They're not interested in none of the things that baggage that come with you. They're not even interested in trying to fix the problem with you, which a lot of them could have done. So as we move from 18, moving forward, what happened next?
Oh, wow. Wow. I graduated from high school, and I will tell you, I went through a lot of roller coaster ride. I actually moved out of the group home, and thought I was ready just from learning the little life skills that I learned from the group home. And I thought that was enough to survive on my own. But I faced reality, and that's not even what a young adult even would want to experience. And I was not ready, but
Wow.
I had to face it. I was not ready. And it was a lot of hard times. I thought I would be able to go to college. I didn't make it, so I dropped out. I thought I would be able to um, go work full time. So I had to learn to work full time and just earn money, and then trying to figure out where I'm going to stay because rent was too expensive, because minimum wage back then for me was like $7 an hour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, $7 an hour. Uh, and my that was my first job, one of the first jobs that I even tried to keep. And then I had to just figure life skills out on my own and life circumstance. But it happened to be where I met a guy who took advantage of me, and because of my vulnerability and my unstable life, he was able to take advantage of me, and everything went haywire from there.
Okay, so let's talk about that. That's what I was about to get into. So, you met, well, my question was going to be from where you were at the age that you was at, that you began to
Yeah.
start trying to figure it out. How was your mindset toward men or anyone of the opposite sex at that point? Because of all the things you had went through, it kind of builds up a fear, like you maybe didn't want to be in the room by yourself with one, or you felt uncomfortable when one sitting next to you. How did that make you feel? And then I heard you say you did meet a young man, and he build and exploited the fact of what you had gone through your life. So explain that more in detail.
You know what? Anybody who comes from unstable life are very in um, uh, not just an unstable life, but because when you're from a foster home or shelter, just coming from that lifestyle, and they don't teach you anything, any kind of that will root you and ground you, anybody can take advantage of you, and you're very prone to getting human trafficked. And so this young man uh, met me, and quote unquote, brought me to introducing me to the Lord, and I was grateful for. But he had alternative motives, and which
Oh,
is taking
wow.
advantage of me, and financially, emotionally, and abuse happened. So that's where all that had taken place.
So I love telling my young adults that when you're exploring the world, you have to make sure that you are financially stable, and that way no one can take advantage of you,
Yes.
and you get tricked into something based upon you don't have the means or the accessibility to reach whatever it is that you need.
Yes.
So with that being said, you stated a little bit earlier that you were making about $7 an hour. You met
Yes.
a gentleman. He really took advantage of the fact that you was in the state that you were in, and the fact that he knew that you needed
Oh,
another type of mean to get to where you wanted to be. So he
ye-
introduced you to religion, and
yes.
he introduced you to quite other things. What else happened after that?
I happened to find out um he okay, so he used religion to force me to marry him, and out of fear I did, because I thought he was telling the truth, not knowing that, because I grew up didn't have, not having a mind of my own, a thought of my own, having self-control, and making right decisions for my own self. I grew up where other people always made decisions for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a bad thing for me, because that's where this young man could
Take
easily
advantage.
take advantage of me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I found out that he was not just a womanizer, but he was a child pedophile.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I got caught up in with who was not meant for me, but who was somebody who was looking to prey on some who didn't have family members or anyone who that coached them, or any kind of, just anybody that stabilized them, and who also went after children.
Okay, so your life with him was what? You've told the things the way it ended up with him. So in the beginning, he what financed you? He romanced you. What did he do? What did he do?
In the end, what he did take advantage of me on is, because I needed a place to stay. He offered a place to stay, but in the end, he ended up controlling me financially, emotionally, and everything else. So every dime I earned, he took it from me. Every thing that I've gained, he took it from me. And oftentimes there was where he forged his name in my checks, and
Wow.
did fraudulent work. But I ended up getting in trouble for it, because he was in full control of my life. And that's but once I came to the knowledge of understanding who Dana was, and recognizing, and started walking in my self-discovery road, and discovering my identity, that's when I realized I had to get out.
Okay.
And it took 5 years before I finally got out.
So your life with him, how when you found out that these other things that he was doing on the side, how did you approach? Did you approach him about it? How did you approach him, and what did you do to try to prevent someone else from being a victim at that point?
I actually, out of fear, I was still dealing with fear. I actually up and left. I found the courage to up and leave, and I found somebody who was willing to help me to leave. And so the way the cops were told, that they were told I was missing, like as if I was dead, and that
Oh,
was
wow.
power and control, and to bring me back.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
he did seek to find where you were. because
Yes.
again, you was a threat for him to he was doing an operation, correct?
Yes. He had alternative motives. Yes.
Okay, okay. And did you try to help any of the other kids that he were trying to take and do other things with?
I think I was so blindsided to that he was doing something to other kids right underneath my nose. I didn't even realize it because one of the kids ended up becoming suicidal, and it was his young baby cousin,
Oh
and
wow.
one became mentally. I can't explain, mentally not there
Okay.
because she was
Just checked
sexually
out.
abused by him,
Oh
and
wow.
then the other, and she was only a 3-year-old child, and the oldest sister, she ended up writing a suicidal letter later on, from what I found out, and admitted it was because of him and
Oh
how much
wow.
she hated him and everything, and why her younger sister was the way she was, and she shot herself.
Ooh, tragic,
Yeah.
tragic, tragic. So
Yeah.
by that time they did that, were you still in the relationship, or I mean the marriage? I'm sorry. Were you still in the marriage, or you had left the marriage at that point?
No, I was gone. I was
Okay.
long gone.
Were you instrumental in trying to get him arrested?
Um, I didn't know how.
Okay.
I didn't. All I know is that by the time that I was on my way of getting a protection order for myself and to leave, I found out that he had another court hearing against him for molesting a child.
Okay. And the court system never offered or invited you to come in to testify?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay. 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 So, with all that you went through at this particular point in time, and you have just gotten out of marriage of pretty much reliving what you had went through when you were younger,
Yes.
what gave you the courage or the fight to want to now reach back and help young adults or young kids to be aware of what's going on? Because unfortunately, this is a $1.8 billion industry.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't understand that these abductees have helps. They have the doctors, they have the lawyers, they have the police officers, and not saying everybody's corrupt, but these people have help because of the industry of money. And this is not going to stop until we all stand up and speak out about it. Um, I, how did you feel about that? What made you said, I want to do something about it and stand up and fight?
Um, from me not having, first of all, the strength and I just feel like I just have to be the voice for children and for the kids, as well as women. Um, I don't know. There's a drive in me, a passion where I don't want to stop until I keep telling my story and keep helping the young kids, the teenagers, whoever, because I feel like I can relate to them. There's somewhere in the line there's something relatable, the vulnerability, the how it feels when you're in a self-discovery mode, you know, and trying to figure out life out. And I think it's unfair that, especially for young kids and teenagers, there's people out there ready to attack them, especially in their stage of trying to figure life out, and when they need guidance the most. And when they
Correct.
don't have the security and the guidance the most, they're prone for anything and anyone.
Easy prey. Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yes. Can you run some statistics on our viewers for what is the ratio for being abducted back in India?
I don't know the real ratio numbers for that, because the numbers change all the time. And then the numbers that I have seen, it has, I don't think they have the real numbers that's worldwide. and they give the numbers worldwide. That's from India to America. So
Can you just take out the numbers for India and tell me about a gauge figure?
uh I tried looking for that, but I was not able to really give a real statistic number for that. But I do know that, it's a $5 billion industry. This has been happening in India and other countries for so long. And now it's traveled its way up to America. And now America is so vulnerable for it.
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, I've heard the horror stories of guys flying in, and it's under on the black market, underground, and a lot of things happen after dark.
Yes.
Unfortunately, you know, like I said, they're getting help every day on children and young teenage girls, and to hear your story that started off at 4, and I'm thinking about other kids that are 9, 10, 11, 12, even. And what I want people to understand is it doesn't just happen to women, it also happens to boys as well.
Yes.
Even when last year when I talked on the same subject, we knew a couple of kids that were gentlemen that were also going through the same thing that most young ladies go through, and they're being housed and just treat with poor conditions, and been made to have sex with unknown amount of people, or being paid for and go to different places and stuff. And I couldn't believe, even from me taking the time to go on the journey with them to see some of it with my own eyes, the places that I saw that this was happening in, I was shocked. And then to see that it's right in front of us and no one seems to be talking up about it until it's election season. And then we hear everybody talk about how we need to help, how we need to, make sure this stops in the U.S. But are we really doing our work with it? And I commend all the people that are wanting to stop it and make sure we make our kids aware. But we got to also teach them at home too. We also have to teach them. So tell us about, you have an organization and what it does. I want you to go into detail about that.
Yeah, yeah. I have a website called humantraffickinginc.com. And what I have done is I've provided educational information to people, the difference between organ trafficking, difference between adoption trafficking, the difference between labor trafficking. So I've provided education and some links, as well as the helping links that people can reach out to, the hotline numbers that people can reach out to if they feel they are a victim, or if they know somebody who is a victim of being human trafficked. There is somebody you can reach out to, even when you feel like you can't reach out to somebody. There's web links, there's phone calls you can make. There's also shelters and that will provide you homes to you for the ones who are in need of shelters, and to have a safe place to go to, and clothing and food and everything else.
Okay, okay. Tell them how to reach your site.
You can either reach me at humantraffickinginc.com or danapriyankahammond.com.
Okay, okay. So now let me go back into your story just a little bit, because I did want to express to our audience where they can go get help. So I'm hoping that if they're watching right now and they really want to talk to you, they can go click onto your website, get the information they need, and then perhaps talk to you. It might happen as soon as this segment is over. But let's talk about, after you got out your divorce, what spectacular happened to you?
Wow. It was in my late 20s until I really started becoming very happy.
Okay.
And I started gaining my own, and really it takes time to gain your own, oftentimes. And I bought my first condo, worked on my credit and everything. And now I'm an author. I finally was able to release some books out of me. And I'm able to walk in my purpose, to really tell my story, and to really inform people about my history. And the reason why I'm telling my story is so people can be aware and gain strength from it as well, and say, you know, if this girl went through this, you know, there's nothing that I can that I can't go through, where I can rise above and also tell my story.
Yes, it takes a lot of courage to do that. And I even heard you earlier say that you're on a journey now to find your biological parents. I
Yeah.
commend you for that as well, because that itself takes a lot of strength. And who knows, when you take that journey, I hope that they are still around so they can unfold your entire history from birth to four and what happened that day that led up to your life changing events that has happened all throughout your life. So I really commend you for wanting to go back and find that far, because I do know that is a hurtful situation that you went through at such a young age. But we have to be realistic here in the States as well as all over the world, that this happens to young kids each and every day and all times of the day and night. That's why you see a lot of the QTs now have the little symbol for, you know, if you need help, look for the symbol, you can hide there, stuff like that. So they're more and more, the more we keep talking about it, they are trying to do things about it. But again, we have to be vigilant in letting other people know what's going on, letting our youth know what to look out for. So if you had to tell our youth something, or to tell a little one what they need to pay attention to, give them something that came from you that you remember that you said, I wish I had a done different.
You know, first I wanted to mention that human traffickers, they don't look like a human trafficker. You know, some human traffickers are elites. Some human traffickers are regular people out in the streets, you know. So I really want to mention that you really got to be watchful and pay attention in your surrounding. And so that's what I really want the young people to understand. Don't be on that cell phone. Don't be so zoned out and so busy that where you're not paying attention to your surroundings.
That's important. That's one of the things I definitely tell my daughters and my kids in regards to being on the phone so much that you're not paying attention to the surroundings around you, because at a split second something can happen, and all it takes is for you to be focused in this phone, and boom, somebody can pickpocket you quickly, somebody can take your purse, somebody can take you, your whole situation can change in a blink of an eye because you was not paying attention. And normally when we pay attention, we can avoid certain things. We have opportunity to walk, run, or stuff like that. But when you're being engaged into something else, and I know we're in the tech world and video games are high right now, we tend to lose what's important, and our safety is number one.
Yes. And this thing is really real. So, I mean, it's not something to play around with. I mean, you may feel like you're safe, but you still can't be for sure. You know, you have to still always be watchful. And I would say start carrying a mace spray or whatever, a little taser, to protect yourself. And don't walk out at nighttime, you know, and be careful. And if you're driving, don't park where there's looks
No
like
lighting.
suspicious van.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anything else you would like to share?
Um, yeah, just watch what you wear too, because you don't want to lure people in to draw attention to yourself, because the way you dress really matters. And if you're getting the wrong kind of attention, maybe it's possibly because the
Maybe
way
the way
you're
you dress.
dressed.
Yep, yep. I tell that all the time to young ladies, that because they see the older young ladies that are like 18, 19, 20 years old wearing these cut off shirts and tight blue jeans and ripped jeans and stuff like that, and well, they do it, why can't we? Because you're not that age, you are a young lady, you should be carrying yourself as such. But nowadays it's all about what somebody else is doing instead of trying to find themselves. They are lost in the fact of they're trying to mimic what society says you should be. Well, who says that? Who you're going based upon what someone else is doing. Find your own self. Find what you actually like and stop trying to be with someone else. So yes, I do understand it 100% fully. Yes, 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 yes. I want to take the time and thank you for coming on and sharing your story. Um, Give us a snippet about your book. I don't want to really talk about it again because, again, I told you that we have a special treat for our audience today that we're going to deal with on August the 2nd. So give us a little bit of snippet about your book. Tell us what it's about. What is the name of the book?
The book is called Abandoned But Not Forgotten. One woman's true story of being abducted as a child to scoring the planet for her birth parents.
Wow. Powerful, powerful, powerful. I look forward in you going into more details about your book very soon. Tell them where they can find this book that you have published and written and how to get to it.
You can go to danapriyankahammond.com or humantraffickinginc.com to purchase this book, or you can purchase it on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Target, wherever.
Okay, okay. Again, I want to thank you for coming on the show. It was a blessing to have you a part of Straight Grown Talk. As everyone knows that this is a community-based show, we're interested in getting the information out to the community. For more information in regards to Miss Dana Hammond, please go on Straight Grown Talk website. She is going to be one of our featured authors for the month of August, and you'll see that posted very soon. So I look forward to seeing her again. And I want to thank everyone for joining Straight Grown Talk. It has been a pleasure. I am your host, Laquel Farley. Look forward to seeing you the next time on Straight Grown Talk. Thank you again. Mwah. Bye.